When I originally started this whole process, we were told nobody is going to give a same-sex couple a child. So you're going to have to go through this foster adopt program. And I knew no better. So I said, okay, sure. So we did the classes together. Every step of the way we did it together. Because I could have just went and did it myself and Roger didn't have to be part of it at all. But I felt it was very important for both of us to be part of it. We were told, well, you'll probably get a child right away because there's several children in foster care. And we never got a phone call. We gave up. We thought, gosh, we're never going to get a child. So we went to San Diego on vacation, and my phone rings. Answer my phone, and it's Heather's shoe plumber, our licensing worker. We've got you matched with a child. And I'm like, great! This is excellent. I'm so excited. And we go and she tells me all about him, and of course I'm relaying it to Roger at the same time. And when can we meet him? And we're 5 hours away. And I wanted to meet him right then. We met Michael that evening. We went to a group home.
This little bald Mexican boy.
He was a little bald Mexican boy, and he was 5, and it was really funny. He would say to us, he said, "Oh, I want to drive a car, a lowrider with dingle balls in it." I'll never forget that. I laughed so hard. I knew in my heart the second we met him that he was our kid.
All he talked about and worried about was his brother and sister, because they're all a year apart. They were all placed together, and then they were separated. And they were going to separate them and adopt them out to different folks. And so we found that out, and it was something we had to fix. I mean, they've already lost everything in their whole life, and now they're going to lose each other. So we brought them back together.
And Michael was so concerned about them. He would sit at night and just rock and cry and just want to know that they were okay. So we called Child Protective Services and said, can we at least do a visit? And I'll never forget, we were already there, and Andy and Elizabeth got out of this woman's car and just bolted. They were just running so fast. And all you heard was, brother. We knew, I knew at that moment that I had to do whatever I could do to get them together. So once we got them all 3 together, then all they talked about was the twins. So I'm like,
Twins?
The twins? What twins? We were told the twins, that they were mentally retarded. They hated men. They had eating disorders.
Allergic to milk. I mean, it was just a big...
Yeah, just you name it, and they had these problems. So our first thought was, I'm thinking, I can't take care of these children. I mean, they're special. They're super special needs. There's no way I'm equipped to take care of these kids. So we get to this woman's home, and Jackson grabs my leg, and that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And he hasn't let go.
No.
I said, okay, I really want a baby, Roger. He's like, oh my gosh, Steve, are you serious? So I called up Ask and said, hey, I'd like to get a baby. Oh, you're never going to get a baby, Steve, ever. There's no way the state of Arizona is going to give you a baby because we're gay dads.
And we had 5 children.
And we had 5 children. So we went on the emergency receiving list. And that was probably December, January. No, it was January, like the 2nd, 3rd of January. The 4th of January, I had a baby. That was our baby Val. Mm-hmm. And we were told from the get-go that you're going to keep him. He's your son. I put my heart and soul into this baby. And 5 months later, he was returned to his mom, which devastated me. I can't say that it was similar to a death, but there's a piece of you that dies because this child that you put so much of your heart into is taken away. And 3 days later, someone showed up at our door with Marcus. And I always said Marcus was our bribe child because they knew I was devastated. And
Marcus was what, 13 months?
He was 14 months old. I was outside with the kids.
It was Halloween.
It was Halloween time. We were hanging up Halloween decorations outside. And this white state car pulls up. And by this time, I knew what the state cars were. And I'm like, this African-American lady gets out. She's a very beautiful woman, big, long nails. She gets in the back of the car and she pulls out this baby. And it was a gray baby. And to be honest, she was really ugly baby. And she comes walking over to me and she goes, "Are you Steve Ham?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh, I have a baby. Yeah, I have a baby for you." And I'm like, "What? What?" And she goes, I have a child for you. They didn't call that instance, and no joke, my phone rings. Hello. Oh, would you mind taking this little baby? Oh, sure. She's already here. I don't really have a choice, So Ambrose I always call it a stink face because it was just like,
oh, she was so mad.
Always just mad faced. And all I know is her name's Ambrose. And that's how I got my little girl. Said, enough's enough, Steve.
Well, because Vanessa, she had a rough start. They wanted us to take her when she was 9 years old, but we sat the kids down. Michael wanted to be the oldest child and didn't want to happen. And then an aunt showed up and then took her to Chicago. So she lived with an aunt in Chicago for a year. And then she did something there, and the aunt sent her back to Arizona. So then she went into the foster home she left, and they were going to adopt her. And then a year later, she screwed up there, and they were booting her out. So then that's when they called us, and I said,
enough is enough. And Roger doesn't ask for a lot. And I figure he's put up with me for, at that point, probably 17 years. So I'll give him this one. I'll let him do this. So we did. We got Vanessa, and, Vanessa's a beautiful child. She's, very smart. And she's a good kid. She truly is a good kid. January, I got a phone call about this baby that was found by a dumpster on 17th Avenue. Would you take this baby? And I thought to myself, no, I'm, my hands are full. An hour later, they called me back and said, "Steve, are you going to take this kid?" And I said, gosh, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I said, "Yes, I'll take the kid." And I had called Roger, in the meantime, and said, I wasn't really sure. And he's like, "Well,
high profile. He was all over the news
and
they
he's
didn't
like,
know where the mom was.
Just do whatever you want to do, Steve, because you're going to anyways."
Yeah, you can't tell him no.
So I loaded all 7 kids up, and we went downtown to the Child Help Center. And Cooper was there, and he was in this car seat, and this kid was just big ears. That's all you saw was these huge ears. And they had named him 17th Avenue because they didn't know his name, because they found him on 17th Avenue. So they named him 17th Avenue. And I said, "Well, I always have wanted to name a son Cooper." So we named him Cooper. Yeah. And so I put our name on a registry. It was like Adopt USA Kids. And a day later, we were matched with a 4-year-old. Now, that wasn't even in our range, but it was a 4-year-old little boy, which happened to be Logan, who has Bohr syndrome. And they were separating him and his sister, but we're going to separate him because we can't find anybody to take 2 of them. Because
she was older.
She was 11.
Yeah. Or
10, actually. And I flew up and met both of the kids and said, "No. If we're going to take one, we're taking both." I'm up there meeting them. I come back. I tell Roger, these kids are great. Just nice as can be. And I fly back to get the kids, to bring them back here. Ambrose has gone back to her mom. In the meantime, while I'm in Washington, Roger gets a phone call.
Cooper's mom had another baby, and they want us to take it. He's like, "Well, I'm picking up Logan and Isabel, Plus, we still had Jonathan was still here.
But he was going home.
Anyway, but we still had Jonathan. And it's like, okay.
It was end of January. Roger and I are sitting watching the news. And it comes on about a Prescott couple had been arrested for sexually abusing and child abuse. And I said, gosh, that's where Annabelle and Julian are. Ambrose's brother and sister. And my heart just sunk. And so I talked to Roger and just said, I don't know what to do. This to me is a sign that we need to do something with these 2 kids. That Ambrose has a little brother and sister. And I said, there's something horrific has happened to them. And Michael, the one we thought was going to give us the most resistance, said, when can we get them, Dad? And Roger and I just kind of looked at each other, and then all the other kids followed suit. Mm-hmm. Don't let a child's description on a piece of paper detour you from meeting that child.
Yeah.
Because those pieces of paper are always going to depict the child as not a good kid. If Roger and I look back and read and took to heart what each of our kids were described as
And classified
classified, we would never have adopted kids.
Exactly. It's normal.
We are a normal family. We are no different than anyone else's family, other than we have 14 kids.
Yeah. And we're 2 men.
And we're extremely good looking. No.